The aroma of cinnamon pie and roasted turkey fills the Prescott home, wrapping around me like an old comfort as I step inside. After 5 years in Chicago, Asheville still smells exactly the same during Thanksgiving, like warmth, familiarity, and memories of what used to be home. I pause in the entryway, hand still gripping the handle of my rolling suitcase. The grandfather clock in the corner ticks steadily, each second feeling heavier than the last. Mom slips back into the kitchen after a brief, polite hug, leaving me surrounded by family portraits that line the hallway. My brother Landon's smiling face dominates most of them. As I make my way toward Dad's study, his voice reaches me through the slightly open mahogany door, low but unmistakable. "Your sister isn't worth a dime." I freeze mid-step, my body going cold. There must be some misunderstanding. Some missing context. I edge closer, holding my breath. "Richard?" "She'll be here any minute," Mom says quietly, her tone calm but not defensive. Through the narrow gap, I see her standing near the window, arms crossed. Watching leaves drift across the yard, Dad continues, "Doesn't change the facts. Landon's app is going to transform the industry. What has Catherine done besides ask for money and run off to Chicago?" The warmth that greeted me dissolves, leaving only an ache where belonging used to live. My throat tightens. My hand hovers near the door handle, the diamond ring on my finger catching the light, suddenly unbearably heavy. A memory flickers, 16-year-old Landon scoring the winning touchdown, the family celebrating afterward, Mom and Dad glowing with pride, ordering champagne and letting Landon have a sip. Just 3 weeks earlier, I had won a regional science competition. No one came. That certificate still sits somewhere in a drawer, unsigned. "You've always been so independent," Mom had said back then, her smile not quite genuine. "You're strong, Catherine. You don't need us the way Landon does." Strong. The word they used when they meant easy to forget. Only Grandma Eleanor had understood. "They confuse your independence with permission to overlook you," she once told me, her wrinkled hands holding mine. "Don't let them misuse what makes you capable." But I had, again and again. I straighten my back and push open the door, wearing the same polite smile I've perfected since childhood. "Hello." I made it. Dad shifts in his chair, his expression softening into something practiced and pleasant. "There she is," he says, standing to offer a quick, distant hug. "Traffic wasn't too bad?" "Not bad at all," I answer easily, though the drive had been awful. They don't actually want the truth. "Dinner's almost ready," Mom says, moving across the room to adjust a perfectly straight picture frame. "Landon and Jessica should arrive any minute with the kids." "Great," I reply, twisting my engagement ring thoughtfully. "I actually have some news I'd love to share at dinner. David proposed last month, and did your brother tell you about his app?" Dad cuts in, eyes bright in a way they never are for me. $3 million in first-round funding. The investors practically threw money at him. "That's great," I manage, the excitement about my own news fading like air from a punctured balloon. "Congratulations to him. The boy's a genius," Dad continues, ignoring my response. "Natural business sense." Mom's eyes drift to my hand, spotting the ring. "Is that new?" she asks, then before I can answer, "Could you help me in the kitchen?" I'm running behind. In the kitchen, I chop onions in steady practiced motions, holding back tears that have nothing to do with the onions. Mom hums beside me, occasionally glancing my way with that familiar, polite smile that always says more than her words ever do. "So, an engagement ring?" she asks finally, her tone light, almost amused. "Yes," I reply. "David proposed by the lakefront. He's a pediatric surgeon now, and did you hear what your father said about Landon's app?" She interrupts, reaching past me for the salt. After all those years supporting him through his finding himself phase, we always knew he'd do something meaningful. My knife stills mid-chop. The meaning behind her words hangs heavy in the silence. Unlike me. Something inside me shifts, a quiet, subtle change that feels enormous. The knife resumes its rhythm, but my thoughts do not. Behind my calm replies and polite smiles about Landon's success, a new awareness takes shape. For the first time, I see the pattern clearly, not as normal, but as something deliberately built and unfairly sustained. The realization settles deep inside, like finally being diagnosed after years of confusion. I am not the problem. I never was. As the doorbell rings to announce Landon's arrival, I make a silent promise to the little girl who once boxed up her science trophies to make room for her brother's football medals. This ends now. The clock reads 2:17 a.m. I stare at the ceiling. Sleep long gone. Dad's voice replays in my mind. Your sister won't see a penny from what's left of Mom's estate. We've already decided. I couldn't have misheard. Not twice in one day. My laptop calls from the overnight bag. A calm focus settles over me as I step onto the cold floor and open it. Grandma Eleanor's voice echoes in my memory. Trust your instincts, Catherine. They've never failed you. The blue light of the screen fills the room as I log into my bank account. What begins as idle curiosity turns into deliberate investigation. I open a new spreadsheet, my fingers moving with precision. Each transaction tells a story I had chosen not to see. Family emergency. Dad had said in 2017, $5,000 transferred. Just until Landon's app gets funded. 2019, $8,000. Your mother's medical bills. 2021, $12,000. Gone again. The list continues, small amounts, large ones. Always with promises of repayment that never came, always described as temporary help that became permanent loss. They mistake your independence for approval, Grandma had warned. By 4:30 a.m., the truth is undeniable. $50,600, over 8 years. My throat tightens as I match each withdrawal to my own struggles. The month I survived on ramen to cover. Rent, the year I skipped health insurance, the dental work I delayed for 3 years. Each number on the screen now tells a truth I can no longer ignore. But deeper, discoveries hide within my email archives. Searching Eleanor Estate, I uncover the forwarded files sent shortly after Grandma's passing 4 years ago. Insurance paperwork, or so Dad claimed when he pushed me to sign them during Thanksgiving dinner prep. He'd said they were just routine forms to release the funds. The PDF loads slowly, and with each line that appears, another truth unfolds. These aren't insurance documents, they're loan guarantees. My signature sits at the bottom, authorizing Dad to borrow against my share of the inheritance. $10,500 that should have been mine is now labeled as a family allocation. My hands hover over the keyboard, not from fear, but from something sharper, colder, clarity solidifying into resolve. The faces of those who betrayed me sharpen in my mind. Dad, Richard Prescott, respected financial advisor to half of Asheville's upper circle, the very architect of my financial downfall. The manipulator who weaponized my independence against me, Mom, Margaret, whose silence smoothed every deceit. Her skill was in changing the subject whenever money came up, making sure no questions found their way to the surface. And Landon, my brother, the golden child, unaware or unwilling to see that his opportunities were financed by my stolen future. Did he know? The thought flickers, then dies under the weight of the evidence piling up before me. Outside, dawn's first gray light slips through the curtains. I've been at this for hours, compiling a 9-page record of betrayal spanning nearly a decade. The confusion and hurt that kept me awake have hardened into something calm and unyielding, clarity without emotion. I print the documents. The quiet hum of the printer fills the pre-dawn stillness. 3 sets, each telling a different part of the story. One tracks every transfer, another outlines the forged signatures. The last calculates the interest owed. My reflection in the dark window feels unfamiliar. Shoulders straighter, expression steadier, eyes clear. The emotional debates ended yesterday. What begins now is built on proof. You can't fight what you can't name, Grandma Eleanor used to say. Now I've named it, recorded it, and calculated it down to the cent. What they took goes far beyond money. They stole my security, forged my name, turned my strength into a tool against me, and drained the independence I fought to build. Most unforgivable of all, Grandma's final gift, meant to give me a start, was diverted to fund Landon's 3rd failed business venture. The sun rises, flooding the room in warm amber. I place the documents in 3 folders, color-coded, not for order, but for impact. In 4 hours, the family will meet for breakfast. The timing couldn't be more fitting. I close my eyes, not to rest, but to focus. What happens next will change every relationship in this house. The daughter they've known, compliant, capable, easy to dismiss, disappeared sometime during the night. In her place stands someone they won't recognize, someone who finally sees clearly. I trace the rows of numbers on the ledger, each one a piece of myself reclaimed. My first win in a battle I never knew I was fighting until now. Painful enlightenment, but worth its cost. Setting the folders on the nightstand, I lie back and watch the ceiling brighten with morning light. For the first time since arriving, I feel something close to peace. The clarity of full financial truth came at an emotional price, but as Grandma used to say, the truth may not set you free, but it shows you which locks to pick. Tomorrow, I'll face what comes next. Today belongs to justice. The morning light filters through the kitchen blinds, marking the start of everything that follows. On the table, everything is arranged with careful precision. 4 ceramic mugs, a carafe of strong coffee, and 3 manila folders lined up neatly at right angles. Each folder is labeled in calm, steady handwriting. Richard, Margaret, Landon. The steadiness of the letters contrasts sharply with the turmoil inside me. I glance at my watch. 7:28 a.m. Footsteps and sleepy voices echo from upstairs. They'll be here any moment, expecting an ordinary family breakfast. I run my fingers over the middle folder. Inside 9 pages of financial records, 8 years of quiet exploitation, $57,600 in supposed emergency loans that were neither emergencies nor loans. The numbers blur before my eyes like accusations. The stairs creak. I straighten my posture and pour coffee into each mug, slow and deliberate. Dad arrives first, newspaper under his arm. He looks surprised to see me dressed and ready. "You're up early," he says, taking his seat. "I thought we should talk before the day begins." My tone is calm, even, stripped of the old urge to please that has shaped me for 31 years. Mom enters next, her silk robe tied neatly, followed by Landon, still half asleep. They sit down, comfortable as ever, unaware of what's waiting. I wait until each has taken a sip of coffee, until the familiar rhythm of morning settles in. Then I push the folders toward them, 1 each. "Here's every dollar I sent you," I say evenly. Every cent that came from Grandma Eleanor's inheritance. All of it. Dad's mug pauses midair. What is this supposed to be? Evidence? I tap the first page. Spreadsheets marked with dates, transfers, and false explanations. 8 years of financial misuse. $57,600 funneled to this family. And $10,500 stolen from Grandma's inheritance meant for me. Mom's face drains of color. "Catherine, families help each other. That's what families do." Her voice carries that familiar, self-assured tone, but it rings empty now. "Help?" I lift a document from Dad's folder. "You had me sign these under false pretenses, claiming they were insurance forms when they were actually loan guarantees for Landon's business." "We gave you opportunities," Mom insists quickly, her practiced firmness returning. "We paid for your education, My education was funded by scholarships," I interrupt, "and you know that. You even complained about attending the awards ceremony." Landon opens his folder reluctantly, hands trembling slightly. His eyes stop at a highlighted entry, $20,000 labeled as a medical emergency. The date matches his startup launch. "You used her money for my project?" he asks, voice unsteady. Silence answers him. Something shifts in the room. For the first time, doubt flickers across my brother's face as he looks at our parents. The pedestal he's been placed on begins to crack, and for the first time, I see it clearly. The balance has changed. The daughter they dismissed now holds the truth, and their silence says everything. I continue, my tone calm and even, though emotion stirs quietly beneath the surface. So I was worth stealing from, wasn't I? Dad is the first to recover, his businesslike composure slipping back into place. "These are family matters, Catherine. Not everything can be measured on a balance sheet. Your grandmother would understand." "No." The word lands softly but firmly. "She wouldn't. That's why you waited until after she passed to take her money." I reach into my pocket and pull out a small brass key, my thumb tracing the word engraved on it. Boundaries. Grandma Eleanor's final gift. It represents her garden shed. The space she escaped. To when family tensions grew too heavy. It was there. She taught me that self-worth isn't something you earn through approval. I've canceled all automatic transfers from my accounts to yours, I say evenly, slipping the key back into my pocket. My credit reports are now locked to stop any future attempts at identity fraud. The bank's fraud division has all the supporting documents. Mom's face twists with familiar indignation. "You're reporting your own family? After everything we've done for you?" I haven't filed charges, yet. I pause, letting the word carry its full weight. But my lawyer has been informed about the misuse of my identity. Legal papers are being drafted as we speak. The ticking of the wall clock fills the silence that follows. For years, I confused loyalty with duty, allowing it to bind me to people who viewed me as useful, not valued. I'm accepting the promotion in Boston, I finally say, standing. The offer I'd wrestled with for weeks now feels less like escape and more like freedom. Senior Finance Director. They need my decision by Monday. Boston? Mom's voice climbs, sharp with disbelief. That's across the country. What about holidays? What about me? I finish quietly. For once, the question doesn't feel selfish. It feels overdue. I gather the empty coffee mugs, stacking them neatly. The documents remain on the table, a paper trail of their deceit. I've kept copies. I have a flight to catch, I say, picking up my purse. The 9 pages of evidence are already packed in my carry-on, solid and undeniable in their weight. They sit motionless at the table as I head toward the door, the weight I carry now somehow lighter than the ignorance I once chose to bear. There's no need for drama, just the calm certainty of a decision made with clarity. A taxi waits outside to take me to the airport, then on to Boston, where a corner office with a view of the harbor awaits. Senior Finance Director. The title feels right, earned through skill, not family ties. As I close the door behind me, I feel Grandma Eleanor's key warm against my leg through my pocket. Boundaries. The word no longer feels like a barrier meant to keep others out, but a structure built to protect my own peace. My old life ends deliberately. The new one stands ready to begin on my terms. A week later, sunlight glimmers on the Charles River outside my apartment window, sparkling across the surface like tiny diamonds. I rest my hand against the cool glass, taking a breath as I admire the view, one that costs me an extra $30,000 a year, worth every cent for the peace it brings. Miss Prescott? The security consultant's voice breaks the quiet. We've completed the final installation. I turn to take in my newly secured home, updated locks, entrance cameras, and a private number unconnected to any family contact. The walls, now painted in deep burgundy, my choice, not my mother's soft pastels, finally feel like mine. Perfect, I say, signing the final authorization. And you're certain about the security protocols? He asks. I am. Anyone claiming to be family will be flagged immediately, he confirms. No entry without your approval. On the mantel, Grandma Eleanor's brass key rests inside a small glass case, the only heirloom I kept. It once opened the lake house where she taught me to trust my instincts. Now it stands as both reminder and boundary. They took so much, but her wisdom remains mine. Thank you, I tell the consultant as I see him out. That will be all. Once alone, I open my laptop and resume sorting through financial records that have filled my nights since moving here. 8 years of transactions, color-coded, annotated, and organized for legal review. Jennifer Maxwell, my attorney, once called it the most detailed client documentation she'd ever received. An email notification interrupts my focus. My mother's name in bold. The subject line reading, "Please reconsider what you're doing to this family. Right on schedule, 3 weeks after I left." I open it, already expecting the emotional manipulation inside. Catherine, I've barely slept since Thanksgiving. Your father is heartbroken over your accusations. After all we've done for you, how could you treat us this way? Landon asks about you constantly. Please come home so we can resolve whatever confusion caused this behavior. I file the email into my evidence folder without a reply. The timestamp is important for the record. Moments later, my phone rings. A Boston area code I don't recognize flashes across the screen. Catherine Prescott speaking. I answer, my voice calm and professional. Miss Prescott? Thomas Berger here from East Coast Investments. I'm an old friend of your father's. He pauses before continuing. He's worried about you and asked me to reach out. See if we can help settle things. The first business contact has been deployed. I note his name and company as I reply. Mr. Berger, I appreciate your concern, but this is a private issue. Please don't contact me again about my family. Before I can end the call, he adds, your father mentioned you might be under considerable stress, perhaps affecting your decisions. He only wants what's best. Goodbye, Mr. Berger. I hang up and log his information into my growing spreadsheet of enablers. Father must be truly anxious to mobilize his business circle so fast. Over the next few days, the pattern accelerates. Cousin Sarah calls, her voice trembling with rehearsed worry about my mental health. Uncle Peter leaves a voicemail suggesting, I'm giving up my inheritance over a misunderstanding. 3 distant relatives, people I barely know, send emotional messages urging me to heal the family. Meanwhile, the narrative spreads online. Mother posts old photos with captions like missing my daughter, praying she finds peace. Father's country club friends comment beneath, hinting about young professionals burning out and how family matters most in hard times. I capture every post, adding screenshots to my growing evidence file. They're following the narcissist's handbook perfectly, says Jennifer Maxwell when we meet in her downtown office. Sunlight reflects off her metal-framed glasses as she reviews my newest documentation. First denial, then gathering allies, then questioning your stability, she notes. Will it work against us? I ask, studying her face. Jennifer shakes her head, red curls shifting over her shoulders. Not with this level of financial proof. The forged signatures alone could justify criminal charges if you decide to go that route. I don't want them jailed, I explain, recalling Father's expression when I confronted him. Not remorse, just fear of exposure. I only want them legally barred from touching my finances again. She nods. Understood. We'll keep building your case. In the meantime, I've scheduled a meeting with Samuel Winters tomorrow. He's the top financial security expert in Massachusetts. He'll review the forged documents. Leaving Jennifer's office, I walk with steadier steps toward my therapist's building 10 blocks away. Dr. Patterson's office feels neutral, the one space where I don't need to stay on guard. The flying monkeys, exactly what we expected, she says after I describe the week's calls. How are you coping emotionally? I think carefully, better than I thought. Their tactics feel predictable now, less unsettling. Once I named the pattern, it lost power. Dr. Patterson smiles slightly. That's important progress. And your boundaries at work? Secure, I reply. Lisa's been incredible. Lisa Bennett, my department director and unexpected mentor, immediately recognized what was happening when I asked for privacy measures. She implemented them quietly, then invited me to lunch. Anyone trying to reach you will go through me first, she'd promised, eyes sharp with understanding. I've seen this before. Your career won't be affected by their behavior. Outside Dr. Patterson's office, my phone buzzes. A message from Michael. Meeting ended early. Dinner at my place tonight. Made your favorite pasta. Michael Carter, my fiancé. And the steady center amid this chaos. He'd listened to every painful revelation without judgment, helped me organize evidence at 3 a.m., and never once implied that reconciliation might be easier than seeking justice. I text back simply, yes, please. Be there at 7 for the first time today. My shoulders ease. The escalation arrives the next morning. A certified letter from Hampton & Associates, my father's longtime law firm. I photograph the envelope before opening it carefully. The letter states, this firm represents Richard and Margaret Prescott regarding defamatory remarks made by Catherine Prescott to several individuals. Cease and desist all communication concerning alleged financial misconduct or face legal action. I forward the image to Jennifer immediately, then continue my morning routine without hesitation. Their predictability almost feels reassuring. By afternoon, the real blow lands. Samuel Winters calls directly, his tone urgent. Miss Prescott, I've finished the initial review of your accounts. There's an active loan of $85,000 under your name. Opened 3 months ago for Prescott Development. LC, the signature matches your father's handwriting. Not yours. My stomach tightens, but I keep my tone even. Please document everything. Also, check if there have been any recent attempts to access my investment accounts. He hesitates before replying. Yes, 2 attempts yesterday, both citing a family emergency authorization. They were denied. I end the call and stand by the window, watching the river move steadily forward. The board is arranged just as I expected, each move designed to wear me down or force my surrender. The office phone rings. It's front desk security. Miss Prescott, a Margaret Prescott is here insisting on seeing you. Says she's your mother. She's becoming agitated. Right on schedule. Please escort her out. She does not have permission to contact me. Already done, the guard confirms. She's being removed now. I return to my spreadsheet recording the latest incident. The battle lines are fully drawn. Then my personal phone rings. Landon, my brother. The favored child, though perhaps unaware of the extent of the wrongdoing. I hesitate, finger hovering over decline, then answer. Catherine? His voice sounds smaller than I remember. Are you okay? Everyone's saying you had some kind of breakdown? I'm fine, Landon, I reply evenly. Is that why you're calling? A pause. No. I found some papers in Dad's office. Loan documents with your signature, but it's not your handwriting. It's his. There's more too. What's happening? A crack in their united front? A potential ally I hadn't expected. That's a long discussion, I answer cautiously. Are you sure you want to have it? His voice steadies. Yes, I think I do. I make a note in my evidence log. Landon's call. Possible alliance forming. That evening, Michael helps me finalize our counter strategy. On the dining table lies the completed evidence package, financial statements, identity theft records, handwriting analysis, and 8 years' worth of unauthorized transactions, totaling over $200,000. The federal authorities now have your identity theft report. Jennifer's voice comes through the speakerphone, calm and precise. The cease and desist letter is finalized and waiting for your approval. It includes clear penalties for any future contact. I sign the electronic document she's sent, aware of the weight behind my decision. Send it, I say. Michael gives my hand a reassuring squeeze as the call ends. Are you ready for what comes next? He asks. I glance at Grandmother Eleanor's key, glinting in the last bit of daylight. They spent my entire life preparing me for this battle. Just never imagined I'd be the one to finish it. Outside my window, the river moves steadily through the dusk, carrying everything toward its natural end. The plan is in place, the proof gathered, the allies confirmed. Let them make the next move. A week later, the attorney's office smells faintly of lemon polish and worn leather. I sit upright at the polished table, waiting for the conference call to start. My hands should be shaking, but instead there's a calm resolve. The kind that comes once you've already faced the worst and chosen to move forward anyway. Miss Prescott. We're connecting now, my attorney Sandra says quietly. Her silver hair catches the light as she nods toward the blinking red button. Catherine. My father's voice fills the room, steady, commanding, just as it always was. This isn't necessary. We should talk about this privately, as a family. I look down at the folder in front of me, neatly organized with color-coded tabs and precise notes. A message from David flashes briefly on my phone. Standing with you. I silence it, then lift my head. All further communication must be documented, I say evenly. Any discussion will take place through legal representatives. I will not participate in private conversations. Each word lands with deliberate finality, statements I've practiced for hours. Sweetheart, please. My mother's voice trembles with familiar emotion. We've always supported you. Remember when we helped with your first apartment? Sandra slides a document toward me, evidence item 17. A canceled check for that apartment, followed by bank records showing my father withdrew the same amount from my trust fund 3 days later. Mrs. Prescott? Sandra interjects smoothly. Our records indicate that the funds you mention came directly from Miss Prescott's inheritance, routed through your accounts. The pattern is consistent. A sharp breath is heard through the line. Richard Prescott has had an impeccable reputation in this community for decades. Their attorney begins. These claims of fraud are verifiable, I reply, voice steady. Let's review the sequence of events. I open the first folder. The initial transfer, January 15th, 2017, 8 years ago. Amount $10,000. $10,000 was withdrawn from my account using a forged signature. The money appeared in Landon's business startup account on January 16th. Dad tries to cut in, but I press forward, steady and composed. On February 28th, 2019, another $15,000 was diverted from Grandmother Eleanor's bequest, funds clearly designated for my education. A forensic handwriting expert verified that the signatures on all related documents are falsified, Sandra explains, tapping her pen against the report. The tax implications alone are serious, she adds. This is ridiculous, Dad snaps, but the nervous edge in his voice says otherwise. Catherine has always been dramatic, always. March 12th, 2022, I continue, unfazed. A loan guarantee for Landon's second business disguised as insurance paperwork was presented to me while I was still recovering from surgery. Silence follows. May I speak to Catherine privately? Landon's voice breaks through, smaller, uncertain. That wouldn't be advisable, his father's lawyer replies quickly. I'm open to a separate call, I respond, surprising even myself. Despite everything, something in Landon's tone cuts through my defenses. Mom starts to cry, the same familiar sobs that used to pull me back into guilt. This time they sound empty, rehearsed. Richard, these are serious allegations, the attorney mutters, barely audible. We have complete bank records, Sandra continues, showing consistent transfers from Catherine's accounts to various family members over the past 8 years. She pauses, then adds, we've also gathered text messages showing emotional pressure used to justify financial requests. I turn to the final page of my folder. Screenshots of Dad asking for small loans right after my career milestones, and Mom implying I was ungrateful for questioning family expenses during holidays. Each message timestamp matches perfectly with corresponding withdrawals. Landon wasn't aware, Dad insists, his tone sharpening. Leave him out of this. I didn't want to believe it, Landon says quietly. But I found the paperwork, the transfer records for my business loan. You told me it came from your retirement fund. The illusion cracks, the golden sun stepping away from the perfect family portrait. You've always been jealous of your brother's success, Mom spits, dropping the tears that failed to persuade. This is pure spite. We also have Ms. Prescott's professional records, Sandra interjects. Her income and achievements are well documented, accomplished entirely without the family support her brother received. Uncle Thomas clears his throat. I'd nearly forgotten the extended family was still listening. Richard, he asked quietly, is this true? Eleanor's inheritance was meant for Catherine. The money stayed in the family, Dad snaps. It's all the same pool. It wasn't yours to take, I reply. Each word precise and firm. Our settlement? Terms are as follows. The demands flow from me like water breaking through. Stone, measured but unstoppable. Full. Financial repayment with interest. Assigned admission of fraud data binding no contact agreement with. Penalties for violations. A public correction of the false family. Narrative they built. And a written apology for taking grandmother's inheritance. When I finish, the silence is long enough to make me wonder if the call has dropped. You can't seriously expect, Dad begins. But for the first time, his voice carries no authority. These are my terms, I say. Steady and resolved. Mom's sobbing has gone silent. The performance is over. The audience gone. I'll call you separately, Landon says at last, resignation and faint respect in his tone. I glance down at the folder of evidence, years of proof I once believed showed my failure, when in truth it revealed their manipulation. Not my lack of worth, but their misuse of it. This ledger is balanced, I say, closing the folder with finality. The accounts are settled. When Sandra disconnects the call, I feel the burden of obligation lift from my shoulders. In its place grows something unfamiliar, something wholly mine. Freedom, built on the unshakable ground of truth. 6 months later, the Boston apartment glows in the late afternoon light, turning the ordinary into something almost luminous. I run my fingers along the bookshelf I built myself, pausing at a framed photo from the Harborside wedding 3 months ago. Michael's eyes crinkle as he smiles at me, his hand resting gently at my waist. The scholarship committee approved 5 more applicants. I call as he comes in with groceries. More young women who might have fallen into the same traps I did. He sets the bags down, pride warming his face. The Eleanor Mayfield Fund. Doing exactly what your grandmother hoped for. A flyer for our monthly financial self-defense workshop sits on my desk, covered with testimonials from past participants. Teaching others to spot financial exploitation mends something in me every time. Sometimes I still expect to miss them like an old wound, I admit, leaning against the counter. But it feels more like clarity now, like seeing clearly after years behind fogged glass. Michael presses a kiss to my forehead. Your chosen family showed up beautifully for the wedding. I smile, recalling my colleagues from the finance firm, where I now serve as senior director, my therapist quietly in the back row, and the women from my support group cheering as we said our vows. Even Landon came, standing quietly at the edge. our fragile reconnection still taking shape. Dr. Warner says I've made incredible progress, I tell Michael while unpacking vegetables, aligning them by color, a ritual that centers me. Working through family trauma takes time, but it's not steering my life anymore. My phone buzzes with a text from Jenna, my newest friend, someone who knows nothing of my past but respects my boundaries completely. A relationship built on mutual respect instead of obligation feels revolutionary. At my desk, I open the leather-bound journal documenting my healing. Each entry marks another step forward. Early pages full of panic attacks and sleepless nights. Recent ones celebrating peace and laughter. I no longer apologize for my boundaries. I write today. What once felt like weakness, asking for respect, now feels like my greatest strength. An old email from Margaret sits archived. Not as a tie to the past, but as a quiet reminder of how far I've come. Its hold over me fades more each month. Soon, 3 scholarship recipients arrive for their mentoring session. Their faces light up when they see the refreshments I've laid out. Teaching them about financial independence and personal limits transforms pain into purpose. My parents always said I was selfish for saying no, confides Alicia. Just 19. Your boundaries deserve respect, I tell her, echoing my grandmother's wisdom. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who treats your spirit with dignity. Later, by the Charles River, the sunset paints gold across the water. Michael takes my hand gently. You've built something beautiful from the wreckage, he says. Back home, the brass key mounted on our wall catches the last light of day. It's engraved with one word, boundaries. It doesn't symbolize what I've locked away, but what I've finally opened. That night, I write my final entry for this chapter. Family isn't who invests expecting repayment. It's who sees your worth as inherent, immeasurable, and never for sale. Grandmother Eleanor taught me that knowledge is power. Dignity is non-negotiable and boundaries are sacred. By embracing those truths, I've finally inherited what matters most, a sense of self no one can take away. My value was never measured in money. It was always measured in courage.